Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, he's back. He's still with us. He hasn't died from excitement over the Daughters of Khaine. It's Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, friends. How's it going?
Good to have you. Good to have you around, sir. So, also joining us tonight. Good to finally be on the show. It's half part. However you want to define it. In my heart, it's all of the AUSHammer crew. Since part of the AUSHammer crew bailed on us, you get to be representing the entire crew. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, man. What's crack-a-lackin', fellas?
Not a whole lot. We are down to talk about some events, and obviously Ryan is going to join us, and we are going to break down for our feature segment tonight. All of it, like this weekend was massive. It was events everywhere, all over the world.
Everywhere.
Okay. So we're going to talk about LVO. We're going to talk about WAAAGHPACA. We're going to talk about Sheffield Slaughter. We're going to talk about Cancon and the amazing diversity of lists across the world that we're running and placing in these events. We're also going to talk a lot about the FAQ and how we think that'll and sort of thread that together. This is threading. Here it goes. Mm-hmm. It's also a church and there's the people. But the what we're going to do is talk about how we think those lists, what's going to survive it, what will fare going forward. I think we all know one thing that will no longer be showing up on top tables given the FAQ, but more on that later. So to start out with, let's get to the news, man. We've got a lot.
So for those that did not catch our immediate response video, the big news of the week, I would argue, is Daughters of Khaine. This is the first real week, I guess, because it dropped like 24 hours after our last show.
Yep.
And so Vince and I did a nice 45-minute show just talking about
something like that,
and if those of you that haven't checked it out, I would do so. Obviously, I'm really hyped about it, but arguably even more so than me, I think, Vince, you're pretty hyped about this, aren't you?
Yeah, man, I already ordered a box. Like I put my money where my mouth is. Like we had already talked about it. Like, I have a rule about about spending money. And we had talked about it for a couple weeks in advance because this has been coming. And I said, if this is what it looks like, I'm in, assuming it looks cool, right? Like I had decided already that this would be an army I'd pursue. We had already been scheming out display boards, right? That's how far into this discussion we were. I was like, assuming the drop looks interesting, right? And they actually do something. Right. What came out blew me away. And I was like, well, I was in before, I'm double in now. Ryan, what did you think, man? What did you think of the Daughters of Khaine? You excited?
So, those that know me know that I have the painting ability of a 2-year-old. However, what appeals to me is the theme. So, I've never gone into elves because thematically they just bored me. I didn't see the need. But with these guys or girls, sorry, I should probably say, I'm liking the thought of good flying, good range, good spells, maybe at the cost of, saves or something like that. So I'm pretty keen to get me some boxes.
I wouldn't get too excited about good magic, is what I would say. Because Marathi has been a wizard, but there are no other wizards in that faction other than the warlocks.
So my response to that would be yet, and that we know of. So
that's a good point.
Fair enough.
True.
Fair enough. But
there's going to be character Medusa.
Right. Yeah. I think there's going to be a character Medusa. Maybe. I mean, we haven't seen
character Medusa.
Sure. Okay. But needless to say, a lot of people have been mentioning magic, and that, that's cool and all, but just a warning, I don't know how much magic they're actually going to have, is what I would say.
Yeah, what I'll say is I'm totally with you on the elves, Ryan. It's the only, I have 10 fantasy armies and access to more in this house from other people's armies we all share. I have my friends high elves that he collected in 1995 that are just sitting there, right? And they've literally just been on the shelf collecting dust. And there's no dark elves in this house. Elves have never interested me, but this is the first time. So I'm in.
Yeah, definitely. it's appealing to others as well. Like from a Greek mythology sort of perspective, the whole Medusa thing I find really appealing as well. You know, will they start bringing out other characters that reference a bit of Greek mythology and stuff like that? Will the artwork and that sort of thing also sort of bleed into it as well? And I think that's going to be another catch point as well, because I mean, like, look at Stormcast; they remind me of the Romanish sort of stuff, and from that sort of area. And then this is going more into the Greek, so I'm pretty keen.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little more like they're paying homage without just making it like part and parcel. They picked up the whole culture and dropped it in, right? Like clearly, and a lot of people didn't see that, but the Stormcast masks are definitely like Roman death masks from the latter empire, right? Like there are very accurate like representations of those sitting in museums if you look. And what I want to know is like what I was thinking about was getting some of those like fun little hoplite helmets that like the Slaneshi riders have, do, and put those on like the only dudes, like the dude cavalry, the warlocks, right? Give them those like mohawk helmets. I thought that'd be a fun conversion. It still look, I think, appropriate because it does have that very like Greek cut line to the helmet.
Will say this: I've played around with that kit a little bit, and the heads and the torsos are really weird.
Knives and green stuff solve most problems.
But like what I'm saying is that like there's no actual torso. Like the way they're hunched in, the legs are molded into the horse. And so like the torso is not a real torso, and the head, it just like slots into a curve of the hair like the witch elf. So anyways, I'm just warning, like anybody that's going to tinker with those kits, like be prepared because they're weird.
I am prepared. I've mentally prepared myself right now. They've actually got a pretty good
shipple of mine to Vince so he can do mine as well. That's fine. I don't
that might come back to you marked return to sender, just as a fair warning. Yeah, there was obviously like we dig into a lot in the breakdown show, and I don't want to recover all of that. But at a high level, the other announcements at LVO, besides obviously the Daughters of Khaine, which is the massive one, they did confirm second elves are also coming. They confirmed an announcement coming at Gamma that will be big, and they confirmed 3 new things will be revealed across all the games at Adepticon in less than 2 months now. So, you know, there's a lot on the table. And obviously the other things that they talked about are they showed both the Shadespire crews, which we also went and looked at.
Like
they showed the
Slayer. Dude, that Fire Slayer looks pimp. That dude looks.
He is the best looking Fire Slayer. Yeah, he is the best looking one they've done, I think. I really do. And they released the video for the Fire Slayers, obviously separate. So I mean, you know, we break into a lot of that. They also had the wonderful joke of Battle Tome Fishmen, which was fun. We just kind of passingly mentioned that, but that was a fun joke.
Still a thing, apparently.
Still a thing. Yeah.
Still a thing. Yep. What else is new? So about the same time, the War Scrolls leaked for both all of the heralds. But I would argue, and when I say leaked, like they didn't leak like somebody internal, other than like somebody internal posted them on the like New Zealand app or the Australian app or whatever for the different.
No, here's what it is. The apps have regional controls, right?
Yes.
Like that's there are regional versions. And clearly they pre-upload this data and then mark it with a date to become live.
Right. And they just click the wrong X.
Yeah, like the Australian version, they actually clicked 2 weeks early. And they all uploaded. So hey, finally, the Australians and New Zealanders, you guys got a good deal on something. You got to pay through the nose for all the physical product, but digital early access you got there. So that's nice for you.
Yeah, exactly. They've gone, look, we've really pissed off 2 nations full of people here. Let's just give them a little something to keep them on side.
So. Well, it's funny because it seems like quite a few of the Death players are not real happy with some of the trajectory, at least. And what we know, we got glimpses of what's going to be happening in the Legions of Nagashima Importance with those War Scrolls. The most significant of those being that they changed a lot of how the summoning and or the unit regen is working now. They've added keywords summonable to a lot of the Death War scrolls. All the heroes have the ability to bring some variable number of units, like restore 1d3 troops or 1d3 wounds to a variable number of units based on like between like 2 and 5. White King on 2, Nagash all the way up to 5. And so it looks interesting. I mean, I'm excited about where they're going, but the reception, at least amongst the Death crowd, has not been as necessarily.
I don't know, that's true.
Positive.
I've seen mostly positive.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've been pretty keen as well. Like the information that I got this morning as well to add on to that was the fact that when a unit dies, you roll a dice, take that last model of that unit off the table, and on a 4-up, you bring back another unit that was destroyed in the game so a full unit back to the table. I think within 9 inches of a graveyard.
Right, but apparently it looks like you're gonna have to pay for that.
Sure.
So I mean,
I'm in Australia, mate. We get used to paying for bloody everything. So.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's try to bring some order to this because we're just jumping all around.
We are.
Okay?
Well,
For
I'm
the
going.
Lord's sake.
I'm going on the timeline though. Like so.
Well, we jumped ahead too because you're talking about all that stuff. Let's just go through everything we've seen so much. Oh, it's not your fault, Ryan. Tom has led you down the path. He is to blame here. You are fine.
So what I'll say is this: we've gotten some death information. Obviously, there's been these 2 community articles this week, and that's helped us out, kind of fill in the gaps with the lores. Today, they released an article about the lore of like the Sacrament, the Legion of Sacrament, or whatever, like Nagash or not Nagash, Archon's Legion, which ironically, apparently, whoever wrote the article, they like had to go back and amend it because like I saw it. It's so funny. I saw it. And they're like, oh, and it's a 9+, so it modifiers. And I highlighted this and took a screenshot, and I was like, look, Vince, this is going to be insanely broken.
Again, hold on, you're getting ahead of yourself because you aren't explaining what was changed. So,
do you want me to share the image?
That's fine. You can bring up the page. So in the spoiler today, it was focused mainly on spells because it was around the Legion of Sacrament Archon's group, which is mainly about death magic. And one of the things they said is that with the death magic in this book, all of the casters, when you cast spells, if you roll, when it went up this morning, it said when you roll a 9+ on the cast. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll lock on you.
Yep. This
there
is
you
what
go. That's the original text.
To Vince this morning. This is what I highlighted. I was like, well, look at this. This is going to be so broken for Nagash.
Yes.
Okay.
Because this is what went up this morning. And to very easily calc this out for everybody, we'll go through the quick math because Tom and I went through this earlier. If Nagash still, we've seen his leaked scroll, and we know he still casts 8 spells around.
Yep.
If you were able to modify this, if you could get to you, apparently you can't because they now updated this little blurb and said unmodified. So I'm assuming that's the true rule in the book.
Right.
If you could get at this and modify this number, Nagash, without anything else, without a Mortis engine or a corpse card or anything like that,
yep,
he would basically double cast 5 of his 8 spells every turn. So he'd generate 13 spells. Assuming that every spell was the equivalent of Arcane Bolt. Please understand what I just said. I just said the equivalent of. I didn't say he cast Arcane Bolt 13 times. In other words, assume every spell would do a minimum of a D3 mortal wounds. That would mean Nagash put out 26 mortal wounds a turn in his spell casting.
And that would mean he's actually worth the 800 points we pay to put him on the field. Yeah.
I am not sure he's not going to go up in points. Let me just say that. Like, it's because, and might earn that. Because he is going to be a brick house when all of this is stacked up, even with the reality that he can't take like the magic items and that he's restricted as a named character. But he'll definitely earn his 800 or whatever he's at now. Like at 800, he's going to be potent.
Does he still get Soul Stealer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he still has all his old rules, effectively. The only thing that changed for him had to do with,
him regenning other enemy, like him regenning summonable units.
Yeah, that he gets 5, right? So he's like the master of passing out his little D3 cookies. But yeah, he's still his old self. 8 spells and 8 dispels and +3 to cast and a brick house. Now, could he get swarmed and go down? Sure. Like any of these big characters that can happen to. But if this guy's unmolested for a turn or two, he'll just wreck things mostly by himself. Now, the new text for this does not have the
like it says unmodifiable, right? And it
Yeah.
removes these examples of modifiers.
Yeah, so get rid of this. Get rid of this since it's not true anymore.
Yes.
Go away. All right.
It's still funny though. Like I love it's
Yeah.
the exact part I highlighted and sent to you this morning is what is no longer in the article.
Yeah, so now on his cast, he'll on average double cast about 2 of them. Right.
Yep.
Because it's in the 70s is what your chances tend to get less than a 9. So the it's still like
it's still
really good. Yeah, it's still really good. But Archon and Nagash aren't going to just abuse the crap out of it.
Well,
Saw some good items
Archon
spoiled.
still can though, because the Archon guy can cast the spells of any other wizard in the army. So if he's close enough to Nagash, he can actually cast Soul Stealer, which does mortals, but then the mortals that are dealt out actually also heals Nagash. So you can throw Nagash into combat as well and let Archon do that spell at the same time, and then Nagash and Archon are both healing him. So he's still pretty broken no matter what.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of self-healing, clearly, because they showed like the Scythe spell, right? Where it's like it's a mortal wound spam across sort of in an arc around the character. And for the mortal wounds dealt, the character heals. The key with that is, like, as with anybody reliant on the magic phase or the shooting phase, it makes you susceptible to the double turn, right? So, but yes, if normal turn sequence goes, he'll be able to bring back a lot of his own power, right? Because he's hero phase dependent.
I am so glad that I just bought one.
I'm so glad I have one painted.
I mean, already I'm just seeing everybody's lists getting thrown around. Like, here's my Nagash with this, and I'm like, whoa, we don't know anything about what's going on yet. You need to slow your roll.
We don't know points, and guess what? Like, if anything, if Nurgle tells us anything, changing points midstream in these seasons will happen when new books come out.
Sure. Obviously, we also had the Legion of Nagash itself, spoiled yesterday. Well, not spoiled, but talked about yesterday, I guess is the right answer. And there was a lot there. That's where they originally sort of put up, or is either that or the article on Sunday, whatever. They talked about graveyards or gravestones or grave tomb areas, whatever it is. Basically, they're the little scenery demarcation markers that the death player gets to throw around. And then those have rules interactions, right? You get to put 2 in your own zone and 2 in theirs, and things happen around them. Namely, like you said, Ryan, with the whole bring a unit back thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really keen to find out if there's any penalty to your opponent as well, if they're within proximity of those, because it means that you're, putting something in there on their end of the board straight away. That's a hassle for them, similar to Sylvanet. So it's basically undead tree huggers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Nagash himself has a huge amount of returning capability. He has this sort of Legion's innumerable thing, right, where he can heal even more. Like a lot of what they talk about in there is this ability to just heal. Like Nagash's tactic is to just win through attrition, just grind down the enemy through these sort of endless hordes, and all this healing he can keep passing out. And I think they clearly communicate that pretty well in the rules. The other thing I wanted to mention out of the thing yesterday is they confirmed more or less what we've, sort of speculated this would be, that the various new, whatever we want to call them, sub-factions will have collections across all of this, right? Like,
they'll be able
they're not one thing.
Right.
Yeah. And they'll turn different things into battle line and different things, and so on and so forth, right?
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how those armies are constructed. Obviously, the other big change had to do with Ethereal, right? That was the other thing we saw
we talked
from the
about
spoiled
that.
War Scrolls.
Yeah, and we talked about that. Good.
Go ahead.
And the banners, the fact that I've now just built like 120 skeletons and given them all the banners that they needed, and now they don't need them.
I mean, they still penalize around them, but basically they don't need them. So banners don't restore models. It's all on the heroes now. And then the other thing is that Vince was alluding to was I just blanked. Lost my train of thought.
Way to keep it professional, Tom.
You're welcome.
The ethereal does not take into account positive or negative modifiers. So suck it, Nurgle. Which was interesting because Nurgle has all this like reduce your save -1 tech that most of it won't work against ethereal stuff.
Right, but they don't benefit cover. They don't benefit Mystic Shield. They don't benefit anything either. So none of the positive stuff they don't benefit from either. So that's like a straight, that's a straight math calculation on like bonus hit points basically now.
Yeah, they have like very old school ward saves for real now, right? Like it never moves. It is what it is. Like this is the number, unless it's a mortal wound. This is what you roll. In fact, realistically, they just have 40k ward saves now. Because that's how a 40k ward save works. It just is the number, and then you mortal wounds bypass it. Yep. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, they also spoiled the new named Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. We know we're gonna get some more Soul Blight tomorrow. Yep. They talked about they're gonna dig into the vampire faction. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that.
It looks like we have a new build also for the Coven Throne.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, where there's like
looks like we're getting a third build.
Yeah, third build basically, like a single hero vampire with banshees around, rather than the group of vampire chicks.
Yeah, we'll get the Crypt Flare version, right, of the the Coven Throne, which is nice. That's a good combo. I dig that. Way to make a third. Again, you can just keep making rules. You know, there's like they pulled what six different war scrolls out of the Thunder Tusk Stonehorn at when they updated that, right?
Sure. Yep.
I mean, that was basically 2 models they turned into 6. So that's pretty good. This is just the same thing.
Indeed. The other things that we've gotten this week is we gotten leaks on a lot of the actual product pre-order that's coming out this week. So for those that don't know this, so the Malign Portents campaign book that's coming this weekend is going to be $25. This is all US prices. So $25 US. The Nagash Battle Tome is going to be $40. The Harbingers are all going to be $35. It looks like they're not going to be clan packs, but they're going to be in like the little boxes. We'll have Skullvein is the re-release of Skullvein. Pre-orders going up this weekend, and it's going to be $115 US. That's up a little bit from where it was previously. For those that had purchased it previously, it was $85 US. So prices went up a little bit on it. But I've also heard from some sources that it's going into main production. And so there's not like a question of availability, or like you don't need all rush this weekend to get it, apparently, because it's going to be sticking around. But there is an increased cost on that. Dice are going to be rumor was 12 to 15, but when I saw the euro prices, it looked like they may be more. Maybe as much as 20. The cards look like they're 15. They're going to be associated with the Harbingers and the Malign Portents events. The Harbingers, from the article and from like kind of what we were told, it sounds like the Harbingers are going to be generals of at least their Grand Alliance. And there's been some talk that I had heard. Again, this is rumor. It may or may not end up being true, that they may even be able to lead some troops outside of their Grand Alliance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how those play out, because obviously we've seen the rules. And it's a mixed bag if you look at just what's on the war scroll, right? But the question is, what else is there supplementing that, and when do you get to access that stuff?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because if they, as it stands, like I think the Night Haunt, the Knight of Shrouds or whatever, I think he's pretty solid. I think the Lord Ordinator is off the chain. I think the Goblin guy is okay, depending on how he gets deployed. Largely determines him. And I think the War Queen is a cool model has an okay ability if she's cheap enough and I can include her easily in an army with Archaon.
Yeah, sure.
Where I can just chain activate her command ability. I'm not sure I'd make her the general. One of the big pushbacks I've heard on her is she's too easy to get sniped down. Yeah, sure. Lots of characters are. And are you really telling me that that's the scariest thing that the enemy snipers are going to target in your Chaos Army? Like, it's not like they're just like that War Queen. That's the thing. I mean, I guess. Like, if that's what you're wasting your time shooting at in my Chaos Army has much scarier things coming for you. So if you want to shoot at my War Queen instead of Sail or whatever, as I throw a pack of buffed 10 Chaos Knights into your face, I'm pretty okay with that, to be completely honest. But anyway, like, she is underwhelming. Beautiful model though, so I already adored her.
The Lord Ordinator though, oh buddy,
For a Star Strike.
Yes,
for everything, for all of it, for all of the war machines.
Yeah, I want to like. So what do you think of the Harbingers in general, Ryan? What did you have? Now we've seen them. You've seen, we don't know their points yet, but what's your current take on it? What's your hot take?
Yep.
Mine is so I am one of those try not to get excited guys, but I then quietly freak out to myself as soon as nobody's looking. So my thing will be, as long as the points are fair, I won't have any hesitation in getting all of the things, like ever, all of the things. And even then, what we've seen in the past with rules changes, FAQs, and things like that is eventually there's a fair chance that if it comes out and it's shit, it's going to be good at some stage anyway. It's just it's the G-dub cycle. So on top of that, from an event perspective, it's going to be really good to see some painting competitions with some of these models out there as well, because they've really upped the ante with a lot of stuff. So I guess I'm looking forward to it on multiple fronts.
What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid that they're going to restrict that, like, these characters will be like banned or not allowed at the Malign Portent or like non-Malign Portents events, like in general kind of stuff. I don't see any and I only say that because I know that like some of the events in the U.S. here have prohibited Firestorm, like Grand Alliance stuff, and I'm just afraid that that's going to happen with these guys, because I'm really stoked about it. Like the ability to have a Lord Ordinator lead a KO force, which seems to be what's been alluded to, would just be amazing.
I thought you'd be more excited about the Moon Clan Snazgar stink mullet or whatever.
No, like, I love the dude. Like, I do. But I also love the idea of getting +1 to hit on an Ironclad and being able to double shoot during my shooting phase.
Yep.
So, like, let's be very honest here. Like, we already have a terrible selection of generals, and so this could open up some new ideas. It already has me brainstorming, like, well, what if I put a rocket battery, allied of rocket battery into my KO? Like, what might that look like with one of these Lord Ordinators?
I can tell you what that would look like. It would look like your normal army, but with a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese all over the top of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not wrong. I've already been trying to piece together how you make the 4 Steam Tank, 4 Hellblaster, Firestorm, Greywater Fastness, Allegiance, generic order army. And just have the tank commander walking behind this rolling steel wall as he's just like, you fire twice, and all the Hellblasters are firing extra in the hero phase, and all the tanks are getting +1 to hit. Yeah, I mean,
See, if only that was our only issue here, was trying to decide things like that. Meanwhile, I'm here trying to figure out if I can remortgage my house to be able to afford the Ward Scythe Citadel, which is $180 here in Australia.
Yeah. I don't want to know what the Australian pricing looks like.
It's not good. But did you guys notice that I think with the pre-orders that are coming out, there's Deadwalker Zombies and Death Lords Morghasts as well?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll get those awesome zombie models repacked onto rounds. Well, it's what we've all been calling for.
No.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Tuck into it now. Set your expectations low. The zombies are getting repacked.
Yeah. If I can also say, New White Dwarf, I think, is this out tomorrow? Or is it out today?
Like, it should be out soon. Like, we have leaks of it already. That's how we know that we have 2 start collecting boxes coming next month. The Vanguard Stormcast start collecting box and the KO are finally getting their own start collecting box. Which, let me just say, for those that have not seen the KO start collecting box, oh my. Like, on one hand, it's a really good deal. If by deal, you're counting money.
Sure.
For playable units in a competitive list, it's a pretty skimpy offering.
Yeah, so obviously the KO start collecting has a gun hauler. It's got 3 Skywarden / Endrin riggers, 5 Thunderers, and the Endrin Master. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So
that's not bad. That should only cost me one of my kids. I think I can do that.
Sure. I mean, I think that's like 155 retail US.
155 retail. You'll get it for 85.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm not sure that any of those units are the hotness. But here's what I'm saying. Here's
use like a $40 box of minis out of that.
I'll tell. Here's why you're wrong. Here's my hot take. You ready?
Yeah.
In this, do you see the future of KO? Okay?
I have to. Like, I have to hope that by doing this, because what Vince is alluding to is the fact that every start collecting box before now has included 1 battle line unit.
Yep.
And there are no battle line units in the start collecting box. And so the question is one of these units gaining battle line status?
Or two.
Conditionally,
obviously.
Conditional battle line, yes. Like, not generic. But how amazing would it be? Like, everybody's been screaming for Thunderers as that conditional battle line. How amazing would it be if it was a gun hauler?
That was not the one I was going to put my money on. But
sure. Like, can I just add, though,
double guns? With all of this, the one thing that I'd like to say, because I'm getting, for those that are messaging me at the same time, I am reading them, is every dog has his day. So just because you look at rules now, or you look at something now and go, oh, that's shit, I'm not going to buy it. If it looks good in your army, or you really want to paint it and shit like that, go out and get it, because eventually something's going to happen. With this hobby, it's a constant change all the time. I mean, I never thought I'd see Death get this year. I really didn't. Last year, I would have said, oh, they'll probably leave it another decade or something, or or it'll be compendiumized and they'll go the way of the Bretts. But really, every dog has its day, and just go out and get the stuff because they're bloody cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think for a minute we know that these points and stuff is going to move, and there are reasonable ways these things can be costed. We know they will make slight adjustments to War Scrolls. Like, I'm quite positive that they know that there's a bunch of units no one is using in KO. Like, it's not a mystery. It's not secret information. We all know it. So when I see a box like that, that tells me that's one, it tells me they probably got a lot of them sitting around. But two, it also tells me that they're gonna like.
Yeah, so do I. Those are all of the units that are still on my shelf right now.
Yeah, sure. But it also tells me that, they will make those moves. Like, it would be an easy layup to say Sky Wardens and Thunderers or something like that, become one or the other, or both become conditional battle line or whatever. Yeah. You can pick whatever you want if you don't like my choices. But like, it feels like that's where we're going. The Stormcast one was actually really cool because that had the Lord, Aquilor, the 3 Paladors, and 10 a bird dog, and 10 Raptors, or not Raptors, 10
No,
the
5.
Vanguard.
No,
Hunters.
you only get
5.
half. You only get half of a box, not a full box.
Okay,
so and thank God they got that box, because that was one thing Stormcast needed, was more box stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, their people have just been left in the wilderness for so long.
So they've managed this long. I've got no idea.
It's funny you say that, because I saw that and I'm like, I might buy that and throw it on my shelf.
Sure.
Because the Aquilor is the one. Like, I have a Stormcast shelf that's just Spruge Stormcast that I've just been gathering from like people that don't want the Stormcast, or like, as I buy these bundles, I get Stormcast. And the Aquilor is really like the only thing that isn't sitting on that shelf. And now I'm like, I get to start collecting and a bunch of extra troops laying around. Man, this is tempting.
And here's what I'll say. Certainly, admittedly, I don't think any of those are like the hotness in a competitive sense right now.
Sure.
Those particular units. Although at Cancon, there were a lot of Lord Aquilors leading armies. Let me just say that. I think there were 4 different order lists that had Aqualors as their general. So, but which we'll talk about, some tournament stuff. I don't know if we'll go that deep, but they are stunning models.
None of them were in the top, 5 or 10.
Yeah, sure. But that is I do love those models. Like those Paladors are awesome. The Aqualors are a gorgeous model. Like model wise, those are absolutely fantastic. So, I mean,
agreed.
There's plenty of people who, if you want to collect those, that's a pretty awesome way to do it. So that's cool. I was happy to see, I want to see nothing but more start collecting boxes. I'm never going to complain about them.
No,
because just keep making more of these. It lowers the barrier of entry for whatever army somebody wants to play, right? And if that means one more, those are targeted towards newer players. And if that means one more person more easily gets into the hobby, great. That's a win for all of us because there's one more player in the world, right? That's what we want. So, I mean, I would never get angry about start collecting boxes.
Oh, look,
Bring them all on.
None of the start collecting boxes was just a Lord Cellison on foot, 1 Griffhound, and 30 Liberators. So
your Vanguard Wing starter kit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the Vanguard Wing starter kit is just the Blood and Glory half, the Stormcast. It's like Liberators and Prosecutors and a Relictor. Done!
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. You get like 2 of those and you're halfway to a Vanguard Wing.
Sure. Well, and that's obviously going to be a subject of discussion later. The other big one was obviously, I'm sure this is what you were going to go to next, but you were going to mention that the FAQ. Right?
No.
We also...
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
That the Malign Portents combat gauge is only $10.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, what country?
New plastic combat gauge. If you're not cool enough for the metal one or whatever, now you can get the plastic one.
Indeed. Yeah, okay, but the FAQ dropped. And they so what were your thoughts, by the way, Ryan?
Well, there was actually a fair bit to it. I don't usually have an opinion with this sort of stuff because my thing is you're best off not bitching about it because somebody else will lose out next time anyway. It happens to everybody. But I stopped playing with my Stormcast the day after I tested out Vanguard Wing. Like that, I went, nah, sorry, not happening. That's disgusting. And I picked up all of my free guild again, which made Paul Conti's pants go tighter. But I was very, very happy to see the FAQ because I don't think they've rendered it Stormcast, especially the Vanguard Wing, unusable. I just think that they've taken away the bits that made you look at it and go, shit, man, that's just wrong. That's not right. Because it wasn't. And even Stormcast players were saying it. Like, I know people that took Vanguard Wing to tournaments and said, look, I know it's disgusting and I should feel terrible, but I have to get some use out of these 30 Liberators before GW nerf them. Everybody knew it was going to happen, so nobody should be surprised. But other than that, I like the changes all around. I mean, it was a lot of subtle changes for the most part, except for things where the entire community was screaming out, hey, this needs to change. What I did notice was a subtle nerf in there for some space lizards, which is probably good. They probably need some more nerfing in the gecko area.
The one that had you mean the one nerf that was like the footnote, like F you Rob Symes?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
That's literally all it may as well have just said that. Because I've got a friend here, Jamie, who brings us space geckos to our gaming nights, and sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, okay, right, so you ignore all the Rend 1, yep, okay, and Croak doesn't have a wound characteristic, right, so he's like invulnerable, and so that's 80 skinks that you've got over there. Oh, okay, so it for me, I'm glad that it's starting to get a bit of a focus, which I'm sure we'll get into later as well, but I think some of the space lizard lists that are coming out now are just really cool. So I liked the FAQ in that it encompassed a lot more than just the Vanguard Wing. There's a lot more to this FAQ than just the Vanguard Wing, and it's just a fair bit.
I agree with you. There's more than the Vanguard Wing, but it was actually fairly I compare this to the last round of FAQ.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, if you look at the last round of the FAQ, like from 1.2, the number of like red boxes for adjustments were just off the hook. Like, there were almost entire pages that were like Zinch adjustments. KO had like damage values and range changes and ability renames and just all over the place. And there was like 15, 20 changes total across all the documents. I mean, it was very controlled in how many changes there were, and they were very subtle adjustments. So,
in saying that, is that just a reflection on the smart work that they did in the last FAQ and the fact that look, they are bringing a lot more balance to the game, and as time goes on, it will require less changes.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's part of it. I think that I just want to congratulate the GW like development team, Ben and all of them, because it was a very like a number of subtle power adjustments that I was afraid that we were not like. That they didn't render those things useless. Like, I think about the sling shields. What the sling shields did was it restricted like the whatever units targeted how many sling shields within 8 inches. Awesome. Like, it was a nice, subtle, gentle kind of tweak that definitely changes the power level of KO. Like, don't misunderstand me. It really does. Because now the ability to like assassinate on the charge with a multi-charge is a lot more difficult, especially if you're like Rune Smiter dropping multiple units. And so I think the changes were very smartly done and very well done. And so I looked through the whole thing and I'm like, yep, like all the way down.
Yeah, and I mean, all the destruction players just all, one big sigh of release. Oh, they changed shit all.
Yeah. Right. Destruction players were like, woo, dodge that bullet.
Yeah.
But it's like how many people are playing, like we can look at the event, stuff, like what got adjusted were your top lists. That's stuff that was showing up in the top 10.
Yeah.
To be very fair, I wouldn't necessarily just call it top lists. I mean, yes, but I would call it like what got hit the hardest were top SKU lists, right? Things that were more dependent upon like this one weird trick will help you win a Warhammer tournament, like that kind of crap. Got the hardest punch.
Yeah,
right?
like free turns.
I mean, sure. No, obviously more like Vanguard or just some really hinky behaviors. I like these weird SKUs that were pointing towards something, right?
Yeah.
Where you were kind of relying. The Witch Elf thing is a great example, right? Like, not that was necessarily a top list, but it was a hinky thing where this whole weird build was levered on this one random rules reading, right? Like, and if that does as we've talked before, if it didn't go that way, there is no list there, right? Yeah. So,
yeah, but also like you and props to GW because they haven't just gone, all right, let's look at the poster boys and see what we can change to make them a bit fair. We're making other people cry. Because the Tomb King's War Scroll Compendium got an update as well. So they're going back and looking at old stuff as well as the new stuff. And that makes me happy because I know that it's all encompassing still. They are still looking at everything. And Tomb Kings, man, they still need more changes for those that bring their Tomb Kings.
People are telling me, by the way, that the video is choppy. I apologize if that's the case. I don't know. It's super clear for the three of us. Like, nobody's lagged at all. No. So I wonder if it's not YouTube. But
yeah, it's probably YouTube. It's not us.
Yeah, like we are all crystal clear here. Just to be fair, I pulled everything else off the internet and shut everything else that was on the internet off. So I don't know. I'm trying. But like everything else works fine.
Yep. Other news bits. We got a rumor engine that's Hangsman news, maybe.
Yeah, you want to share the image real quick? Like I said, I pulled everything else I had off the internet, so you'll have to share that.
For some reason it's not there. Let me find it real quick. So yeah, Vince, you want to talk about rumor engines in general, like what your observations were?
Yeah, so there is still a lot of hanging rumor engines. I went back and pulled the last collected rumor engine image, which the last time anybody updated that like mix and match picture was like November.
Yep.
If I get a chance, I maybe I'll try my hand at doing it, even though I don't know how to do that or any of that, but I can probably figure it out. But there is still a ton of stuff from last year not answered, including like one of the first ones with those weird bombs that were on
Yeah.
that thing. That's never showed up.
Yeah, and that was not KO. Some people had thought that was KO. That's not KO. Like, I have all of those kits.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but today we've got yes. So we got the like. Well, you know what else this looks like? Yes, could be a Hangman's Noose. It also looks like the little thing on the back of the Lord of Blights. Yeah, like he has a similar little wood thing hanging off the back of him.
But it's not Nurgle, right? Like,
right. It's not that. I mean, clearly, I'm just saying, like, it. I guess somebody else could be walking around with things hanging off their back. Yeah. I mean,
new corpse cart, maybe.
I'm going to put it out there. What
Okay.
about a new like death rattle catapult or some shit like that?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think
Most
so.
likely not, but I don't know. I there's hope for me.
Like, I think something gallowsy would be a low-hanging fruit, or like something that could be death related. Like, we don't know if there's going to be graveyard markers, or if there's going to be like a little mini pack of like 4 terrain piece stuff for the graveyard stuff.
Sure.
And I could see them doing something like that, and one of them being like a gallows or like a broken down fence stuff with, you know, like a post, like a hanging post nearby or whatever.
Well,
Or
it could
GW
also...
just come out and say, "No, you idiots! It's just a simple A-frame." Bloody hell!
Sure. By the way, it could also be not any of those. Like it could actually be an A-frame on the side of a building, and they just photoshopped out the building. Right.
Sure.
So it could actually be like the side of a building.
No, don't say that. The last thing I need is another $180 terrain piece to look at.
Well, I'm trying to think. You know, there may be an A-frame corner like that on the Skullvein Mans. The whatever the new name is. Like, now that I think about it.
Yeah, a lot of those old buildings had these kinds of like A-frames on the sides of the building, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that like it wouldn't be hard to Photoshop out the side of this, the background.
Yep.
Effectively, right? Background. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Wasn't there something like that on the old Death Knell watch? Like on the top, like the actual like connector pieces. Like, we know, and the reason why I say that is we know that the Skullvein Mance is coming back under a new name. And like, for those that don't know, the top tower on Skullvein is functionally just the Death Knell watch tower on a different base. And so maybe maybe we have a return of like Death Knell, like under a new name.
That could be. Yeah, sure.
Like,
they could actually be spoiling a previous model. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah. So who knows? But anyways, yeah, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
There's rumor engine. What else has happened? We've had a lot happen this week.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I wanted to make a little personal news announcement because it happened like 5 minutes before the show.
Oh, okay.
Which is just that Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I got the confirmation on the scheduling for all of my classes I'm teaching at Gen Con. So, like that they all got approved and scheduled and time slotted. So if you're going to be at Gen Con, I'll be there teaching a bunch of different miniature classes and hobby classes throughout the convention. So if you missed out on taking a class at AdeptCon, since those are all sold out, and you want to come hang out, I would love to have you. The events don't go on sale until the 6th of May. But I had them confirmed. So they'll be there, and there'll be a pre-event checklist that you can look at, I think like a month in advance or something.
Is this for Nova?
No, this is for Gen Con.
Okay. Oh, Gen Con. Got it. Sorry.
So for Gen Con, all of them got confirmed today, basically. So they'll all be in there. If you're going to be at Gen Con, I'd love to have you in a class. It'd be awesome. So there you go.
Nice. The other big news announcement, I can't believe I blanked on this, was the Warhammer community, the Warhammer Cafe opening in North America.
Yep.
And by North America, we mean the USA, because on the image of like the Stormcast and Marine, it's the United States. Like Canada was not included in the graphic of the Warhammer Cafe.
Seems legit to me. I don't know I'm not sure what the issue is. I don't understand.
So
I just heard that that's where all the cool Americans go to live.
In Canada? Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I don't nope, that all checks out. Yep, this so yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Obviously, they didn't say the exact location yet.
Yep.
My guess would be like there's a couple of good candidates. Texas, because they have a distribution center or whatever there. Memphis, because that's their or they have something in Memphis. But they could also go for population centers, like they could go Chicago or something like that, or they could lean more East Coast. They could go somewhere like on the East Coast ish, so that way they've got access to easier the whole Eastern Seaboard. Realistically, given the U.S., most people would have to fly anyways. Yep. Right. So if you can bury it amongst the largest drivable population centers, that's probably your best bet. Like you put it in Chicago, you put it in Pennsylvania or Philly or something. Anybody, west is still flying.
Yes.
What I mean?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. That said, like Chicago, there's obviously a large event circuit there, and land prices on the outskirts of Chicago are going to be a lot lower than like LA.
Sure.
Or something like that, or even in the East Coast. So if they're talking, for actual rentable space, Dallas obviously will be cheap as well. I'm not sure about Memphis. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. My guess is Chicago. That's part me. Well, I would say it's partially me wish listing. No, me wish listing would be Columbus. But I don't think that that Columbus is probably likely. I don't know. Maybe
we are the heart of it all. I've heard you might have heard that. That'd be come on down, GW.
See, I heard Columbus was the retirement capital of the world.
Look, that's fine. That just means you've got a bunch of old people who will come sit in your cafe. That's who you want. You want people to stock your store and be there all the time. They'll sit around and drink coffee and talk about Warhammer. That's wonderful.
Bugger that, GW. Come and open up the store in Australia. You can charge 3 times as much for everything that you do here. Get on that cash train.
They already
Here's your 30 liberators and your flat white, sir. Have a lovely day.
What I'll say is that they did say in the announcement that this is the first of the Warhammer cafes. And so it looks like this may be potentially a new thing. At least here in the U.S., it would not surprise me if we get a Midwest, an East Coast, and a West Coast at some point. Like assuming the first one is successful, that wouldn't surprise me. What they said with this is that obviously, in addition to like drinks and stuff like that, they'll have enough play space to host events and to do to like host like seminars and stuff like that. So
I'd be interested to find out if they'll have a liquor license and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I suspect not. That may be why they are marketing it as a cafe. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, they've nerfed Vanguard now, so it's a lot less likely that people are going to get angry at others when they drink. So,
true.
It all lines up, mate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're going with coffee because they're hoping to eliminate enough of the bad abusive list that people need to go get drinks after rounds. Maybe
or the opposite. See, they could make it really easy to abuse lists and then sell alcohol in their cafe.
Well, they do that at Warhammer World. And so maybe they feel like the tides are changing, and so now they're going to do coffee and do a cafe format.
I'm down for whatever. I reckon that's a really good idea. I hope they bring that to other countries as well.
I agree. I can't wait to see kind of what they end up cooking up. So, and they, by the way, did say that they're going to be doing a large kind of hunt for new folks. For like a lead person for this new like hobby master thing. I don't know. And so we'll have more news about that when they make that publicly available. So Yeah. Other news. The people that do Total War released this, and I feel obligated to share it because it's amazing.
It's not another picture of you without a top on, is it, Tom?
That's
Nope.
what they released. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Nope.
And no,
Lock
it's-
on me.
Quite the opposite. It's him with only a top on.
It's indeed. I want to point out that Cetra in Total War 2 has racked up 74 million kills.
Pretty good.
Indeed, Cetra rules.
31 kills every second.
That's for the skeleton archers. They get 20% of all kills. All kills, skeleton archers. 31 kills every second. Khalida being the most defeated character of the Tomb King. Poor Khalida. That said, look at Cetra on the most popular. Dude is doing some work.
Cetra rules.
Cetra rules. Yep.
Yeah, see, GW probably saw that and went, shit, we better check that compendium out, guys, and make sure it's not like that on the bloody tabletop as well.
Well, I still think there's a Tomb Kings list out there, but you know.
I agree.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how this death stuff applies to generic death and what options are available. What else? Anything else? Is that news?
I think that's probably the news, man. That was a big news week.
It was.
Only an hour of news. So there you go. All right. So, and an hour of probably bad internet for whatever reason. So sorry, everybody. I just hope like when it reassembles the show, we'll know if when it reassembles the show at the end, if it's all clear in the playback, right? Yeah. Then it was YouTube streaming. So we'll see. So let's do some pick of the week. So Ryan, what would you like to share with everybody, man?
Okay. So my pick of the week, to avoid shameless self-promotion, was actually
you can shamelessly self-promote. We're okay with it.
In light of today's topic and everything, obviously, I would like to share BrisCon. So BrisCon is another massive GT here in Australia, and it happens in Brisbane or Vegas, where I am, and the AOS component of it is on the 28th and 29th of April, and it's in a table tennis center. So I'm guessing it's air conditioned and full of nice people. But yeah, I think $50 is the entry for it, and just go out, check it out. It's going to be really awesome. It's a 2-day event for AOS, and I am definitely going to be there.
Nice.
Actually, I think the contact for it is David Kerr, and that name might pop up a bit later on as well, possibly, because he was in the Court of Glory here at Cancon as well.
Nice. Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, throw me the link, and obviously we'll put it down in the show notes. So
I have already done that, sir. You are free to do that whenever you want. It's in your Facebook chatty thing.
Awesome. There you go. So I will pull that and drop that in the notes. So look for that once the show is uploaded and hopefully actually streams appropriately. That's what we all hope. Tommy, what about you, buddy? What's your pick of the week?
I'm going to kind of shamelessly self-promote.
That's a spirit, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. And by kind of, what I mean by that is I appeared on Paul Conti's channel this last Friday with him and Dez, and was the guest star on the Warhammer show. Those of you that don't know what it is, it's people getting together and drinking in a paint-a-sode style format with a long conversation. And it's like multiple hours of us trying to get through Nurgle. So for those that wanted some of my thoughts on Nurgle, you can watch it, but it's painful because it's meandering. Like we get like an hour and a half in and we've gotten through 5 War Scrolls, but we're drinking and having fun. So that's out there. That exists. And so we'll have it in the show notes below.
It was actually a really good watch. It was a good watch.
It was fun to watch, but my God, were you guys meandering? You ain't kidding. Don't watch it for like the hot takes on Nurgle.
No.
Like, because It's something to watch, to have on in the background, to listen to three people have an entertaining conversation.
Who all have a differing opinion on everything.
Yes.
And the more they drink, the more the opinions differ. So,
Yeah. As they occasionally, it's more like a conversation about a lot of random topics with a framing device that they occasionally mention Nurgle War Scrolls. Right? Like,
every
that's
20
pretty
minutes
accurate.
a war scroll. Yeah. It's a good show. I dug it.
yeah. So it's like Plague Bearers are pretty good, right? Now we're going to talk about Vanguard Wing for 20 minutes. Just like that. Whoop.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. That happens.
Yeah,
So-
after 20 minutes of Vanguard Wing, you guys are like best Nurgle combo ever.
So yes, I second that. It was enjoyable to watch, for not to get information on Nurgle, but to have lots of interesting conversation.
I just like that halfway through it, you just see Des go, I think I've drunk a lot of vodka. And Paul's like, thanks for contributing. All right, so Nurgle.
Yes. My particular shout out will be to a little more sober share, but that is the Mortal Realms has been putting up a bunch of reviews of all the death stuff and all the leaks as it comes out. Eric's been getting on the content creation. Way to go, Eric. It only took you till 2018 to fulfill your 2017 New Year's resolution. You thought I forgot about your 2017 New Year's resolutions? I did not. I know you're going to watch this. I remember. I don't forget anything. So, a year and a month later, way to go. But check it out. I'll put a link down there. It's good stuff. So, yeah, that's that. I very much enjoyed all those things. And he often has different people on. Sometimes he's talking alone. Sometimes he has Paul on, other people from the Mortal Realm. So it's a good time. Okay. So all those links will be down below. Let's talk about some hobby time, man. Ryan, you're in the store right now.
I am. This is Irresistible Force, this store. And there's a whole bunch of stuff behind me, and I've got to try not to look, otherwise I'll spend money I don't have. And then the Minister of War and Finance will find out, and I'll be in trouble. But hobby time, I have gone, I've been waiting to hear that Death was coming out. I didn't care if it was going to be good or bad. I just wanted new stuff. So now that they've announced it, I've actually gone out and got Nagash, because I've been waiting for ages to get him. And Doom, go and get one too, buddy. I know that you've wanted one for ages. A whole bunch of Morghasts, which I've just finished building. And then I decided, being the paint master that I am, that I would prime my miniatures. So I built these boxes of Archive and then decided to get a can of spray to prime them in what was apparently 98% humidity. And now they're all soaking at Brindley's house in some IPA, and he's going to fix it for me, reminding me why I should never hobby and just play. But yeah, I'm building Death, obviously. So I'm at like 3,500 points now or something, and I will keep going.
Nice. Big Papa Nagash coming to the table near you soon. Awesome. That's good to hear. Are you going to convert him at all, or are you going straight?
Well, see, I was thinking about getting some of the older like elf miniatures or free guild and stuff like that, and chucking them on the bases and trying to do like a like he's in the middle of that soul stealing kind of spelly thing, and
have the spirit hosts coming up out of them.
Yeah, not just out of them, but like maybe flying through one of them as well. So sort of like Indiana Jonesy meets Harry Potter-ishy sort of crazy shit. So I just, to make it a little bit different. I mean, once you put Nagash down, everybody looks at him and everybody targets him. So for most of your game, your eyes are going to be on Nagash, and you might as well make it look good. And it's not like I can afford to buy two of them. So, yeah.
There you go. Tom, what about you, man? What are you hobbying on?
I have made amazing strides this week.
You haven't done shit, have you?
No. I don't have that option right now. Like, I'm in crunch time. Like in hard crunch time. I finished the 10 Arcanauts and the 2 special heroes that I've been working on. I'll give and I've done conversions of most of those folks. Let's see if I can pull up a couple of those conversions for anybody that might be interested. Where'd it go? So I have. What do you mean error? Stupid. Anyways, okay, here we go.
Gripping television, by the way, right
Thanks.
now, Tom. I
Thanks.
want you to know that.
I work hard.
Let's all watch Tom search through file folders.
There we go.
It's
Okay.
all right. If you look really closely, you
hero's
can see it
journey.
reflecting in his glasses. So.
Yeah, this is the hero's journey.
So this is indeed the hero's journey. So this, I'm not done on him yet, but this is my. I've been working on a.
He's not going to be on the cork as the base. That's not the final base right there.
Shut up. So this is my battle mage that I was working on, and so I'm still I need to do some highlights and obviously some of the scribble in the book and stuff like that. But this dude's going to be a battle mage. He was fun to kit bash and build. I think I previewed him last week in plastic. Here is my Rune Lord that I did. So this is another converted, so the Dispossessed Rune Lord, I'll have some unit of Dispossessed that I'm turning out in the theme. I felt like he came out real nice. He has a rune staff and a hammer, and so it was fun to do the conversions and find stuff that would be appropriate for him, and have him be suitably feel KO-ish as well. So that was fun, and then I also finished, or mostly finished. It's not completely done, but we're real close. My Luminarch. So this is the Firefly.
What the? Yes,
send me that. This is a Firefly class ship that Vince and I have been talking about, and I'm real close to getting it done. So, I'm so stoked on this thing. It's come out
badass.
Yeah, it's come out so nice. And the best part about it is that all of it feels right. So when you look at the way that it's designed and what is coming out where and where the energy pipes are, it all feels aesthetically right. And so yeah, this is another piece that I've been working on, and I'm almost done on as well. So
shout out for the Dr. K in the picture.
That's exactly what I was just thinking as well. It's convenient product placement there, Tom. Is there something you need to tell us, mate?
Absolutely.
No,
we've been sponsored by Dr. K.
No, indeed not.
Just in case this video has to have a manual review, to be very clear, we have not been sponsored by Dr. K. That is a joke. Just because there's so many YouTube Warhammer videos have to get manual reviews. So yeah, it's super fun. Anyway, for me personally, my hobby time, I finished up my Repentance Titan, my Canonist Viridian piloted Knight Titan. She is over in the cabinet now, just off screen up there.
Waiting for her day in the spotlight.
Waiting for her day. That's right. And with that being done, we immediately turned, you give yourself about 10 minutes. So that project was probably, I'll be very conservative and say 150, 160 hours. Okay. And so I finished that up, and I gave myself an hour, and I was like, all right, I've enjoyed that. Now it's time to get back to other stuff. So I had to get back to the orcs. So I've got my other, I wanted to convert a spellcaster who was still in armor. So I took my other war chanter and turned him into my little war shaman guy. He's done, or more or less. Just obviously he needs his base. And then I'm working on pigs. So we got pigs. These are the ones bringing the beer to the party. These pig, if you got bacon and eggs, but you got to have something to drink with breakfast too. So we got the pigs bringing some beer.
I'm really sorry for the shit pun, but I saw similar stuff from you not too long ago. It's starting to feel like Groundhog Day.
Sure. I want to well, these are probably some of the last Orc Ironjawz units I will do. They are also for Holy Wars coming up because I needed to get to like a full list. Because last time I didn't have a full 2,000 points because I didn't really need it. Because when we did our last time, it was a team tournament. So
let me point out, you're supposed to be bringing 3,000 points to this event.
No. Optionally, you get bonus points for using some of your side, at least
Not bonus
your
points.
sideboard.
They are integral into the total calculation of the event. You will lose points in the event if you do not mix and match. Now,
6 to 1, half a dozen of another.
Now, what you can do is take a whole bunch of battalions and mix those battalions in with 2,000 points of models.
Sure, I'll just take absolutely my battalion. My sideboard is like a gore fist and a weird fist and all the other fists. Whatever equals 3,000 points, man. I don't know, Herner. I'm sorry, buddy. It's just a list of battalions. Sure,
and you just play a different battalion each match.
Yeah, or two.
Or two, yeah. You can do the mega battalion.
Yeah. So there you go.
There you go, Vince. I just solved your conundrum.
But nobody here is going to make any jokes about fists whatsoever.
None.
But that's fine. That's
None.
cool. I'll let it go too then. Be that way.
So I will but it's good to have them. It'll give me a nice list. I do want to come back to it at some point to do a second Maw Crusher, and I want to convert that one into a giant flying pig. But beyond that, I'm not gonna that'll probably be. I'll call it there. In the future, I might touch it for some allied stuff, some make some converted rock lavas or chuckas or something like that. But the Ironjawz themselves will be at a cool little over 2,000 points, and I'll be happy with them. So. Thumbs up. That's a happy army. I've got what I want out of them. There you go. And a nice selection of all the units that I would want to play. So, okay. So, let's talk about some tournaments. Tom, you've got all the lists. I know, Ryan, you had some of the lists as well. Tom, where are we starting, man? Break it down. It's going back to you.
Let's start at Cancon.
Okay.
Ryan, were you at Cancon?
No, I wasn't. I had the pleasure of being able to work and not escape the office for a single moment.
Awesome.
Well, then some of this may or may not be news to you as well. So
I was there was a lot of people there. Obviously, Doom was there with his crew. Clint, who's a friend of ours as well and lives close by. So we were getting a lot of updates, and I tried my best to pretend I was there.
Indeed. So let me pull up the top 10 ranking.
Yeah.
I just have too many windows open. Sorry.
You're okay.
Okay, here we go. So here's our top 10 placements for Cancon. Now, let's talk about the number one placement here.
He is a legend because it is not Vanguard Wing, and that makes him a hero in my books. Good on you, Adam.
Yeah, so this is Stormcast. No battalions. Right?
Correct.
Terminator Central list. And I think so the winner was Adam Burt, right? That's who had the Stormcast. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so Adam
quick shout out. Doom is gonna do a show with him tomorrow.
Yep.
So
yep.
Okay.
So what Adam ran was a heavy fulminator list.
Yeah. Well, fulminator Tempestus. So
yeah. So he had fulminators, but he also had a pair of Tempesters, I think 2 sets maybe of Tempesters. He also ran 2 Relictors. And you look at that and you're like, what's going on here?
Why wouldn't you? They're so good and they're so cheap.
Yes, but here's the deal, folks. This was as Paul Conti, when we were talking about it, he pointed out, how did so many people not see this? This is a Stormcast debuff list. Because all 4 of those units can grant -1 to hit. So on top of being a super hard defensive list, they all are a set of debuffing units. And it's funny. On that last Warhammer episode with Paul, I said, I really think that there's a number of mixed Stormcast lists that have some gas in the engine. And Paul's like, oh no, they're all junk. That's no.
Yeah.
And guess what? Sure enough, Cancon, the #1 winner, walks away. Stormcast, no battalions.
Well, he, I think the thing that I really liked about this was he dug a hole with his list and filled it with a battle mage, and I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nurgle list that was here was a Glotkin paired up with, it was like a mixed Blight Cyst.
Yeah, that was David Kerr. That's the guy who's doing the AOS BlizzCon thing as well.
Yeah, and so it was a mixed Blight Cyst. So it was a standard Blight Cyst with Glotkin, I believe. And I think he had a Plague Bearer, a 30 block of Plague Bearers. He had a Poxbringer. It was just a nice mixed list. I think he was like 6 drops. I mean, he was quite a few drops, all things considered.
Yeah, because he had Lord of Blights and Gutrot Sprume in there as well. So plus with the 3 units of Blight Kings, obviously.
Yep. And it was a nice, Paul and them thought that we'd see like 5 or 6 Nurgle lists across all the events last weekend. I predicted 1 or 2, and we ended up at 1 or 2.
Yeah, Zentra's still too strong, I think, for Nurgle to really shine through enough to get those sort of numbers.
I don't know about that, but what I would say is that because I think Nurgle in general is a good counter for Tzeentch. That said, I don't know.
Look, I'll tell you the main thing that's standing in the way of Nurgle doing well in this tournament.
Yeah.
The book just came out.
Yeah.
Yep. Like that knife isn't sharpened yet. And there's a lot of new synergies and things to remember. And look, even the best player in the world, if they picked up a book and had a week to practice with the list, that's tough.
Well, in that case, you know what? I think it's probably Tom and Paul's fault that more Nurgle went in the top 10, because if they spent less time drinking and bitching about Stormcast and more time getting into the Nurgle stuff, maybe they would help people win.
That's such a good point. Tom. I can only agree.
Indeed. The Seraphon list, I think, was this the Scarvet list that Doom reviewed?
That's
like the.
So that was the one with
the mono drop battalion. Is that this one?
So this is the one with the Shadow Strike Star Host.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the Sword of Scar veteran on Carnosaur, and it's filthy. I love it.
Yeah, I don't have this list on offhand. Do I know what was in the Seraphon list?
Yeah, so it was somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Sword of Scar veteran on Carnosaur. He had the Mighty War Leader command trait, War Spear, the Skink Star Priest, because why wouldn't you? And the Skink Priest as well. And then he had 3 lots of 20 Skinks, which is why they call him Chris 60 Skinks, Todd. So, and that was his battle line. And then he had 6 Ripperdactyl Riders, and then 3 Ripperdactyl Riders, a Dread Saurian, and a Stegodon. And then obviously with the Shadow Strike Star Host, the Dread Saurian's like nearly 400 points or something alone as well. So, but those Skinks are crazy. I think we're going to see more of this sort of stuff coming out soon. Well, now, people have started to go, oh shit, Seraphon are actually really good.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll get to the WAAAGHPACA next, but Adam Trenzo won WAAAGHPACA with a Star Strike Seraphon list.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that that Seraphon list actually comes in at 1,970 points. So he was slightly under the 2K as well.
Yeah, Seraphon, they're here, and they're kind of scary.
We're both the Tzeentch change hosts, I assume, being that I know there were multiple change hosts.
I don't know about that. I think one of them might have been a 30 Zangor list. Now I think I think one of them was a change host with a Zangor pack. A third, like so it was a 3-drop Zinch change host that went with instead of like Kairos, it went with a Gaunt Summoner and a 30 pack of Zangor. I think.
Okay.
Well, Luke Taylor. Now he's I'm pretty sure he still is the ranked number 1 AOS player here in Australia.
Mhm.
He took Lord of Change, Blue Scribes, Gaunt Summoner, Chaos Familiars, and the Zangor Shaman, and a whole bunch of pink horrors. So, and of course the 9 Skyfires. And there was, I think there was a lot of you saw that Skyfire thing always comes through because they're Skyfires. But I still think there was a fair mix as far as Zinch goes as well in this tournament. So the lists weren't all identical, cheesy, dirty crap. They were actually some pretty smart lists and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd call 9 Skyfires pretty smart.
Yep, 100% yes. And you see it a lot, but like there was other lists there as well where they'd only take 3 Zangor Skyfires and 3 of the Zangor Enlightened. So yeah.
I don't know what those are doing, but okay.
Mate, you're asking a death player. I'm not smart, but I can lift things.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
so this was the Cancon results. Obviously, Fire Slayers had a strong showing. Dispossessed showed up.
yeah, Dispossessed in the top 10. How about that, huh?
We do things differently down here, boys.
I guess.
Apparently. So
Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
an
not
interesting
complaining.
list
I'm
overall.
I'm
because
literally
you-
painting Dispossessed right now as we speak.
Sure. I mean, it's an interesting thing overall because you got out of your top 10, you've got it's fairly dominated by Zinch and Stormcast, right? When it comes down to it, 6 out of the 10 of these things are Zinch and Stormcast. So that's actually fairly homogenous when you look at just this. And if this were our only tournament result, I'd be like, oh, well, this is a really homogenous thing. These are sifting to the top. But as we go through, we're going to see some very different results in other places, right? So I think that it's hard. Again, we talk a lot about you don't want to draw too many conclusions from, you don't want to draw too many conclusions from one thing, right?
Yep. Yes, but what I would say is this: these are all lists that, and all things that got touched within the last year.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about I guess the Dispossessed got touched. Sure.
They got an allegiance.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I think the Dispossessed list. I don't think it had anything to do with whether or not it got any attention or anything like that. I think the player just likes Dispossess because it was like a Warden King, Rune Lord, or 2 Rune Lords or something like that, and then just a whole bunch of like warriors and Longbeards with as the battle line, and then you have things like Quarrelers, Iron Drakes, Ironbreakers. So
we're still on your screen, by the way, Tom.
Okay.
I think it was just like somebody really likes their Dispossessed and somebody's actually really good at playing them. And I think that list is in there not because of the units that was taken, but because of the experience of the person playing them.
Yes. I mean, what I would say is this. I think that they're, whatever we say, they were touched this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And those abilities do matter. They do have a 1-drop battalion and they have allegiance abilities, and they have the ability to deep strike a unit now, and all of those things matter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So who are we turning to next? What's our next tournament? Obviously, I don't think the top of that results, by the way, is going to be very affected by the FAQ because like the Vanguard wing was down at what, number 8?
8. Yeah.
And
I mean,
none of the other lists were too impacted. All right, here you go.
So here was a nice competitive, like I looked at the field and like, man, there are some names that know how to play there. So Adam Trunzo ended up walking away with the win. Adam ran a star. I reached out to Adam this week or earlier today, in fact, to get his list. Adam ran a Star Strike. He ran his general was a Slaane's Star Master with engine, and he had an Engine of the Gods and a Skink Star Priest. He, in the Star Strike, he was running like 10 skinks, 40 skinks, 40 skinks. What else? Then he had some Ripperdactyls, 2 sets of Ripperdactyls. He had, so a lot of it's standard. His allies, he actually allied in 5 Judicators and 5 Paladin Protectors into the Shadow Strike Star Host, like not into the Star Host, but into the list. And it's interesting to me. So, I talked to him, I asked, how he was using those. Oh, and he also had a summoning pool of 160. And for those, the Protectors would screen like the Slaane, the Judicators, and the Skink Priest and or the Engine, depending on the matchup. He said, most scenarios he was able to score from turn one. Like most scenarios had like scoring from turn 1. So he'd jump up with the Skink and like claim those early by teleporting them onto objectives. He with that 160 point pool, he actually ran like he'd summon 3 Salamanders and their handlers. And so he'd have a little cannonball squad pop up on the line of like of Salamanders and handlers to fire or to cannonball spit folks down. Adam's a great player. I played him at Holy Wars in our final game last year. He played a Wonders list that was super scary, and that was before All Their Love. And so
I feel like he's like, this isn't even my final form. Like, I still think there's places he can take that list. Like, I still think there's some cheese missing. Like, there's still some extra topping on that sort of list as well. I don't know. I looked at that and thought, geez, that's going to be bloody awesome for a while as well. So,
yes, it was somebody had asked. It's the Shadow Strike War Host. Is the battalion.
Yeah.
So, and I agree. Like, I think he could have probably tightened up a couple of the corners, but that said, man, it's great. I love the list. It's very shooty. It's a very shooty list.
Sure.
Surprisingly, no turtles in there. That surprised me a little bit, but yeah. So that's what Adam walked away with. Coming in second was Domus. Domus is a well-known player. One of the U.S. playtesters. He actually brought Soulblight to the event. Ran Swift Death, Vamp on Zombie Dragon, Vamp on Nightmare. He ran 3 units of Blood Knights, which is fantastic. 2 units of 3 Vargeist, 3 units of 5 Direwolves, and then he had a reinforcement pool of 120. He left like 20 for like the victory stuff or whatever, and then he ran a reinforcement pool of 120, and basically in the reinforcement pool he had like skeletons and bat swarms and spirit hosts, and he basically only ever summoned spirit hosts, he said. And I'm
interesting. And he's just using them as chaff, I assume.
I'm assuming
just like coming up some ethereal chaff kind of thing.
Yep. Probably ethereal chaff and or like objective holders.
Yep.
Because those are fairly hard to remove. Yeah, and then
just because something's got to take the wounds. So
right.
Well, the Blood Knights can take it on the chin. 3 units of 5 Blood Knights. Like, let's be very clear about this. Like, in this prior world, they regened models like a mofo. Now they don't.
Not for much longer.
Yeah, not for much longer, but they did at least for this event. And so Domus was able to bring in the second place. And then Brad, friend of the show, came in third with his Tzeentch change host. Brad's Tzeentch change host is pretty well known at this point. He's done some interviews on it and stuff like that. And it's a fairly standard change host, 3-drop running both Kairos, the normal, like, a 30 block of brims, I think, and then a bunch of like 10s. And then he ran supplementing that a Gaunt Summoner and a Gaunt Summoner and Kairos, and then had like a 240 point summoning pool, I believe, with a Balewind, and then so you can multiply out. So if you hit any of his like pink horror blocks, he can explode it into a bunch of models. And he ended up bringing up the podium with third. So, and then obviously like a number of other very competitive players showed up in this rankings.
Hey, shout out to Dave Witek, Warhammer hero, Garage Hammer, coming in fifth.
Dave Witek in fifth. Sean Clark, I believe Sean brought. I think Sean was running his Sylvaneth, maybe. I don't know what Jake was running. I know he was working on for a while. So Jake might have either been Zinch, or I know he was working on some KO. Patrick, I don't know what Patrick's been running. I know he has a nice ogre army. And then I know Marv was running Seraphon. So with 3 turtles, triple turtle Seraphon.
Triple turtle. It's a triple turtle.
So
I know the triple turtle well, and not in a good way.
Yes. So yeah, like nice, mixed, showing there. We have, a lot of the armies that you would expect, and then some newcomers, obviously. Seraphon, Soulblight. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is this is an extremely competitive tournament with extremely competitive players. So it's awesome to see these kind of lists rise to the top. Here I think there is there's still some of the same things showing up, but it wasn't as tilted one direction.
Right. Yep.
Where you've got like 2 armies who were basically occupying half of the top 10. It's not the case here. So
yep. Yeah, and so this is just another, case for a mixed meta. Like this is the new world we live in. There are lots of, rock, paper, scissors going on amongst these various lists as well.
Well, as we'll see when we go to LVO, it's very location dependent, right? Because if a lot of people show up with a particular thing, a lot of that thing will tend to rise to the top, right? It's hard to, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it also, in a way, and this is something that we would, Brindley and I were talking about recently, is culture comes into it as well. And I don't mean country culture. I mean your area culture. So the gamers that you game with in the country that you game with, the way and the style that they play has a specific culture to it as well, which is why you probably saw a bit of mixed stuff down here in Aussie, which is a lot different to what you'll see in the US and in the UK as well, because the way in which people choose to play, the culture, that's a bit different as well. And given time, any list is a good list. You just need to know what you're doing. So,
Yep, I agree. All right, where are we going next, Tom? Again, I don't think most of that was hit by the FAQ. Like, really, when you look at the FAQ, what it hit was a particular Wanderer skew. Vanguard Wing is dead. Bury it.
Well, it could have had a bigger impact than what we're seeing here, because other people could have risen further to the top had they not played Vanguard Wing in the first game.
Oh,
do you know what
absolutely.
I mean? So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think what the FAQ mainly had the effect of doing was clearing out a couple of the worst offender skew lists, which is gonna then make a lot of other things start to get more competitive as more different lists start smashing into each other.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
and also the other bonus of that is if anybody wants Liberators, they'll probably be on eBay for pretty cheap soon. So
Indeed. So here are the LVO results. We had Andrew Standiford. I think Andrew is from, is it Rolling Bad? Is that the group that Andrew's from?
I don't know.
With a Vanguard Wing, very standard Vanguard Wing, and smashed a bunch of people in the face, as can be expected for a pre-nerf Vanguard Wing. We had in the second and third places both James Thomas and then Tony Moore came over from the UK. Tony ran a change host. It's a lot like Relians. It has less summoning and reinforcement. It has more actual just raw meat in the horrors. Oliver ran a modified version of the Byron's list, the mixed order list. When I say a modified version, I mean It had a couple. It had a couple Phoenixes. It had some Arcanaut Company, and I think it had some Skinks and some other. So like, it's not Byron's list.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear.
It's not. But in saying that, as far as mixed order lists go, this is definitely a mixed order. You know, it's not a whole bunch of Stormcast with a Battle Mage and some Skinks. It's it's actually a really cool mixed order list. It is. I think it's floating around on Twitter somewhere. But definitely check it out if you can.
Indeed. Let's see. It might even be a little bit farther down. Here we go. I'm jumping all over the place. Okay, so so here's Oliver's. This is what we're talking about. It had a Battle Mage, a Luminarch, Lore Master, a pair of Phoenixes, a Skink Star Priest, some Arcanaut Company, some Skinks, a Dread Saurian, there he goes again, and Hellstorm Rocket Battery.
So, I mean, Ironweld Arsenal's in there. You've got your Seraphon, you've got your KO, you've got it's a cool list.
Yep. If it had been me, I probably would not have. I probably wouldn't. I don't know. I probably would have done a unit of maybe Engine Riggers instead of that Dread Saurian. Because you already have some monsters with the 2 Phoenix units. And you could probably fit in a one guy pretty easily, a chemist.
I don't know. It's for the Dreadsorian though. When it's on the table, like it does its job really well as well. Like don't let the war scroll fool you. Like it's actually really useful on the table as well.
That's fair. That's fair.
It also has the surprise factor to it of like, it's huge, it's scary, and how many people even really know and have internalized what that thing is capable of? When's the last time you played a Dread Saurian?
Right. I've seen him on the table.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I'm guessing, would have seen it and gone, "Oh shit, that's big. I better focus that." Meanwhile, his Arcanaut Company are doing all the damage that they need to do, and he's got his Luminarch rolling around, just going pew pew pew,
and the Hellstorm Rocket Battery and. Yeah, I mean, like I would be lying. I would be lying if I didn't have a list that looked kind of like this for Holy Wars, like in my 3,000 point mix. Like, I mean, I have my Duarden version of this, but of my mixed order, including my Luminarch, which you guys saw the conversion earlier. So, I mean, I'll say like there's something here with these mixed order lists.
Yeah, I mean, my only thought is not enough Hellstorm rocket batteries. I think really, if I had to pick.
Well, see, now you're in my realm. Okay, I have 3 of them, and I've also got 6 cannons. And at the moment, the cannons are winning out. But man, they look so good on the table. And when they do work, because sometimes they just fail, and I think I've just run out of luck with them of late. But when they work, everybody has a bad day.
Sure. All I'm saying is Lord Ordinator and the Hurricanum say Hellstorm is the winner, my friend.
Oh my god. Sorry. I'm just thinking about it. We've talked about it, and it's
if you want to hit on 2s with 3d6 damage and fire extra times in the hero phase. That is your play. That's all.
It's if it comes down to chance, likelihood is I will have bad luck. That's all.
All I'm saying is
on 2-ups.
I'm currently building my Imperial Guard version of the Free People's Force. It's just going to be tanks and heavy weapons teams, basically. Like it's nothing but 40k Imperial Guard.
If Brindley was here, he would say that has AUSHammer approval, my friend.
Excellent.
100%.
Yes. Excellent.
That's fantastic. Michael Birch ran a Disciples of Tzeentch that was quite Zangor heavy, as you see. So it's just a mixed Tzeentch, Zangors and Skyfires and Pink Horrors, and yeah, it's a nice mixed force. I rather like it. 7 drops is a lot, but I mean, it can clearly do some work.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's got lots of scary threats, obviously, right?
Yep. You have to deal with those, both the Zangor block and the Skyfire
Lord,
block.
the Gaunt, the Zangor block, and the Skyfires are all very dangerous, depending on what you are, right? 3 out of 4 of those are probably very scary to you, almost regardless of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, but what I would say is this, like, a lot of lists are going to make that 30 block of Zangor Battle Shock. Like, you're going to hit a list that's going to underdrop you, because they have 7 drops here.
I understand. He still pulled 5th, so clearly he didn't take it. If he did, it didn't take it. It didn't hurt him too bad.
Yeah, that's true. So that was number 5. Joe Cryer, his famous like super horror list, was like there's just so many horrors.
Look at that.
Like so I had helped, like Joe had reached out to me last year and we talked through like what a change host, like a maxed out change host could do. This is a 1-drop list. Let's be very clear about this. So unlike all of those other Tzeentch lists, like Joe drops first and then he pushes everything forward and he summons so he can push folks. Anybody that deploys off table will not bring it what they brought to the table onto the table ever.
No. That's not why Joe brings this list, mate. Look at that list. That's an hour's worth of painting for a competitive list. That's why Joe's brought this bloody list. He's going, shit, I'm out of time. Oh, horrors. Hours painting done. Good, I'm competitive. And he's done well with it too. See, laziness pays off, people. This is an example right there.
Joe, I know that Joe plays 6 here at LVO, but he also ranked 2nd overall in the ITC rankings this year. And it was this list that he played all year. So it's a great list, and like it is a Tzeentch list that catches people by surprise because it is a 1-drop, and it can do some work. Let's be very clear about that. It like this is one of the lists that I am actually afraid of with KO.
That's it, man. Less time painting, more time smashing face.
Yeah, like KO does not have a response to this, is what I would say. Well,
what about movement? Like movement-wise, couldn't you just have him chase you around?
Where the hell are you going to move? He will fill up the table.
The board is horrors.
The horror, like the board is lava. The board is horrors. And he'll say,
next time he's speaking to Joe, he's going to be like, I want to play more games, but people will only play me if it's on an 8x12 board now. I don't know.
Right. That's exactly right. And so like KO mobility is like, it's non-existent. And he can just teleport. He gets like 3 teleports a turn or whatever because he's a maxed out change host. And he's just going to push everything forward. And then just pressure. He'll claim all the objectives at the top of one, and he's just going to pressure you off the board. Like, and you're just going to spend the entire time killing horrors. You can't do he has like what, 200 horrors here? 30, 40,
170,
50, 60,
I think, right?
60, 70, 80, 90.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. Yeah, it's more
So
than that.
90 brimstones.
Yes.
60 blues, so we're up to 150.
180, yeah.
180 horrors plus all of those here. There's just too many wounds. That's the problem. Like, you can't, like, removing all of that. Like, it's all easy to kill, but you're just going to spend your time wasting your time killing horrors. And all those have range. So he can leverage.
That appeals to me because you can play an entire tournament by only looking at 2 war scrolls. Winning.
It's true. Very easy list management. Yeah, 100%.
We had Bill Souza brought a Maggotkin mixed list. This was a Glotkin unclean one, and then a bunch of Marauders and a bunch of Plague Monks.
Take it.
And then 2 Plague Claws. So
that's got all the it's got an old school feel to it. That list.
It's
especially with the Plague Monks.
It's such a douchey list, and like not in a bad way, but in a like Glotkin.
Soften that statement. Wow.
No, like let me be very clear. This is the type of list I run
in a good way.
Like let me be very clear. This is the type of list I run normally when I run Nurgle. But
because you call yourself a douche doesn't mean it's all right for you to pick on poor Bill.
Yeah, to just label this guy, poor Bill here. It's ridiculous.
Bill, you're great. I love you. I love your list, is what I would say. Because what like the Glotkin is gonna buff all their attacks, and then they're gonna get blades off, and you're gonna get like on the charge like 4 attacks per model or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
All re-rolling hits. And so 160 attacks or whatever from a Plague Monk spread out unit, all re-rolls. And if Blades went off on them, they're going to every 6 is going to do more.
See, do you remember about 36 million years ago when you did that video with Mitch on unlocking Nurgle?
Yep.
Yeah, this has some of the signs that he watched that.
Yeah, I know. Like, again, I will own. Like,
don't give him that, Ryan. You're not helping here.
No, I'm not going to helping. I didn't make this.
I've already told Tom that he's the whole reason I went into Nurgle in the first place, and he owes my wife an apology.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. I will say this: I didn't make this list, but I definitely approve this list. And I mean, I'll be honest. Vince and I today were just talking about one of my 1K lists that I may or may not be taking to Adepticon, which may or may not have been named by Vince. Festus and the Furious.
Absolutely. And let me tell you what, it's amazing. It's amazing. By the way, also just a quick note on the team tournament, because I'm going to throw this out in the world since you're not going to do it, Tom, and I really want to see somebody do this. So team tournaments, if they allow, usually team tournaments, it's two people playing 1,000 points, right?
Right.
And
we see a lot of 2,500 points, so each person needs to bring 1,250 down here. Yeah, a little bit different here.
Fair enough. This will still work. So
Yes.
we were talking about fun things to do in a team list of like when you've got two people, because you
Oh,
have
don't
two
do
different
that.
armies.
Don't tell people. No,
I'm
don't
putting
do
this out in the
this.
world. I'm
No.
putting it out in the world. You
No.
can't stop me.
Vince, no, don't. I don't want to see this list at Adepticon.
I do. I
don't
really
tell the
do.
world.
Shut your
Oh my
mouth, Tom, or
God.
I'll mute you.
Ah.
All right. So, yes, absolutely. Here we go.
You're spilling my secrets. I hate you.
All right, look. So, and first of all, I'm allowed to do it. I'm the one who thought of this. So, anyways.
Well, it was a brainstorm, but yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so we all know Blades of Putrefaction or whatever, and it's a great spell, right? On a 6+, you trip a mortal wound. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Now, obviously, it's a 6+, so bonuses to hit would make it go off sooner. The challenge is, of course, that Nurgle doesn't have a lot of bonuses to hit, if any. It's not an easy thing to get a hold of, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? Okay. But Blades of Putrefaction just says friendly unit, so it could theoretically target a unit in your teammate's army in a 1,000-point list. So what your teammate needs to be running is giant rats. You know that giant rat list that was at Cancon?
Yeah, it was like 300 rats.
Yeah,
Yep.
it doesn't. Yeah, just which I think Doom played in round 2, by the way. But
He did, yeah.
The giant rats, when they're in 30 or more, and they can be in packs of 40, get +3 to hit and make 3 attacks. A pack master gives them an extra +1. Giant rats are on like a base the size of my pinky finger. Okay, they're just itty bitty baby bases.
So ridiculous.
And
it's 40 for 200 points.
40 for 200 points. So naturally, like off the rip, if you just whip them with one pack master and hit them with blades, that unit of 40, which is also a very fast unit because they're base 8 move. Okay. And they're going to go faster because of the whipping and blah, 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 blah. That unit, when it charges and attacks, will hit on 2s and trigger the mortal wounding on 2s.
2s. For 3 attacks per model.
3 attacks per model, mortal wounding on 2s.
So 120, 120 attacks from these 40 bases.
Yep. Of which 100 will become mortal wounds.
I'm sorry. You need to stop the cast. You need to delete this video from YouTube. Because if I see this at BrizCon, I swear to God, I will get on a plane and I will come to the retirement capital of America and find you.
And keep in mind, that's a 200-point unit. You could have like
3 of those.
You can usually have 3 of those in your 1,000-point army.
You could have 3 of those. You could also, throw some Storm Fiends in for fun. And
you can just
have a Packmaster.
Yeah, just throw those things forward. You just whip them and send them in and watch them just literally evaporate units as they hit a unit and do between 50 and 100 mortal wounds, depending on how many rats you get in the base. Like, zip! That unit ceases existing.
People will play against that list, and then they're going to write into G-Dub saying, do you think you could bring back Vanguard Wing?
Yeah, and no one kills 120 rats at the top of 1, by the way.
Nah.
And this is a 1,000-point list.
Yeah.
So like the amount of meat that you can throw to like mitigate these packs of 40 rats, there's not enough.
You can't put out the wounds needed.
So
no way.
Like, because all I need is 1 to 2 of those packs to survive. So you pick 1 and blow it up. Who cares? I have 2 more.
Yeah.
Because like none of them are doing the thing on their own, right?
You should both be ashamed of yourself.
Well, yeah. I'm not running that. I'm running a nice fluffy team list with Kenny Lowell.
Well, I hope you get steamrolled by giant rats. No offense, Kenny. I'm sorry, buddy. I don't want to see you die, but I want to see Tom get just blown over by giant rats. Now that I've put this out.
God, I hate you so bad.
So, all right, let's get back to this. Okay, so bit of a tangent.
Okay. We had a Crocnado, which has obviously has had a strong showing for those running that have seen it out in the wild. Croak is scary. Croak on a Balewin is scarier. Skyfires and Skin Wolves. I love this list because Skin Wolves. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, man.
There's been an argument actually recently down here in the arsehole of nowhere where Croak has summoned something onto a Balewin vortex with him.
Yeah. The question is, can you summon the other heroes onto the Balewin?
Well, yeah, and that is because you can't move within 3 inches of the Balewin vortex.
But it's a setup, not a move. And if you can fit the model on top, then technically you can balance, kind of, I guess. I don't know.
Correct. And if Croak is on there and he has, like, what is that? Is it an Eternity Warden or something?
Yep.
You know, where he can, like, throw his wounds at that instead. Yeah, it's...
I'm just going to apologize if they do that. It's not my fault if I bump the table and one of those models falls and breaks. That's all I'm saying.
Going for the terrorism defense. Nice.
Yes. So anyway, Skyfires and Skin Wolves, Gore Pilgrims. I saw this list pop up a tournament back in the fall, and I love this corn list. This is a fun corn list. I don't know if y'all are
the mix of Brass Stampede and Gore Pilgrims. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a 2-drop list. And so it's a pretty scary list in the competitive scene. All of those Mighty Skull Crushers are just churning out mortal wounds, both on the charge and I believe maybe every turn. And then it's banging on all cylinders. So I love this. I love this list. It's 3-drop because I think the Lord of Corn doesn't go in either of those. So, anyways, yeah, it's a neat battalion. Or I don't know, do those Korgraths fit in Brass Stampede? Maybe not. Maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe this is more drops than.
Yeah, I don't know enough off the top of my head off those two to say that it's that low of drops. But I love this combination of these two things together. It's actually a great combo.
This isn't the 2 or 3 drop version because I don't think those Korgraths fit in either of those battalions.
I'm just excited somebody's running packs of corgis.
Yeah, no, yes,
Tom, we know you talked about packs of Korgraths. Oh my God, move on.
No, I didn't say that. I was going to say
Tom's I told you so.
I should timestamp all of my ideas just so that I can point back to them.
Fine.
Anyways, no, what I was going to say is I may have bought a Corn Lord on Juggernaut over the Christmas break when I saw one on clearance. Because I'm like, I think I might want to put together a nice, tight Brass Stampede Gore Pilgrims duel list. This is a fun, it's just a fun setup. I like what it's doing. It's it's not super hard, but it's fun.
It also doesn't have the stigma of like a murder host or something.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed completely. Anyway, so that's LVO. Nice showing at LVO. Nice mixed stuff. I like what we saw there. Just briefly, I will obviously neither of us were at Sheffield Slaughter.
Didn't make it to the UK, sadly.
But I feel like we need to mention Sheffield as well. So let me pull that up. There were a lot of events this weekend.
It really was. And this is very different. Very different.
Yes. Fire Slayers came rolling in hot. Andy Hughes, I believe Andy ran a standard Fire Slayer list. And what I mean with standard Fire Slayers, like 3 blocks. No, I think Andy ran the 30 poleaxe Auric Berserker or the Hearthguard Berserkers rather than the Auric shooters. And so it was almost 120 melee, 90 Volkites, and then the the Hearthguard Berserkers, I believe, with everything else pretty standard. Ellis Priestley ran a nice Wanderers list. I was in WhatsApp chat room with Ellis this weekend as he was just raffle stomping people with his Wanderers. And he he was not playing them with the cheaty setup.
The thing that they stopped in the FAQ.
Yeah. He was just
not
playing them straight. They're just playing them straight. I don't know what Will took. And I don't know what Brian. I don't know what a lot of these guys took. Nicky Myland coming in strong with Bone Splitters again.
Yeah, we've seen them popping to a lot of the tops, especially in the UK events, right? Like, and showing up in the top 10 frequently.
Yep.
So,
Rob Symes with his triple time walk list,
yes,
came in 12th. I know he was on top tables to the last game. So like Rob with his time walk list, almost made it. Good job, buddy. I was rooting for you. So, yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Yep. Ben.
Yeah,
Johnson,
I like Mark's list, by the way. Mark Wildman the Beastman, who's running Mixed Destruction.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
which you don't see that often.
All
yeah,
of these are very impressive, but is it? I just need to know if it's just me here. But when you look at that list and you read out those names in your head, are you reading it in a British accent? I'm really sorry. I just need to know. Those all look so British. Like, I have this picture of them. Like, this competition took place in a pub. Everyone had a handful of pork scratchings and a pint, and they just rolled dice. That's how I see this.
I would hope they were all wearing like top coats and had monocles, and we're like,
everybody looks like the Monopoly guy in top. Yep,
more like a House of Lords game is what I'm picturing. Yeah.
I'm not racist. Is that racist? Is that
no? I make fun of all people equally.
Yeah, we're gonna wander into dangerous territory too quickly here, but
I'm not nationist.
Sure, whatever you like. But I will start hearing them in a British accent now, so I'm sure that'll be fun. But like, it'll be like a super like way too like bed knobs and broomsticks kind of over the top Mary Poppins kind of accent, like
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that'll be good.
But that's over the top. That's just how I hear them all the time.
I liked this because wow, apparently slight aside, I must be very loud because my wife just sent me a text who is upstairs. She's 2 floors above me, and she apparently put her phone onto voice recognition, and Siri was able to narrate what I was saying 2 floors away. So I'm clearly very loud.
Did the text message say, "Damn it, Vince, stop making fun of the British"?
But this is clearly, I like this. I love seeing Wanderers. I really have said for a while that I think there is a competitive Wanderers list out there. I don't know what it is. I'm not good enough with Wanderers, but I think their abilities, their movement is really interesting. I think they have a lot of interesting units. They have good ability to project their power. So I was really happy to see them at the top. They're the kind of thing I want to see more people explore. I really feel like some of the potential in a lot of these armies just hasn't been explored either because people aren't playing them enough, or they're getting forced out by, like we said, these couple skew lists, right? That are kind of hedging out other things.
Let me be like, I think that's maybe the lesson of the show is that there's a lot of very viable lists out there.
Yeah.
And if you come prepared, just knowing what those top skew lists are and how you're going to deal with those skew lists, you can do very well with the non-top skew stuff.
Yeah, and especially with Wanderers, I agree with you, Vincent, where the foundation is there for something awesome. It just needs to be explored enough and brought out to the top and built upon. Definitely.
Indeed.
100%.
So, yeah.
Well, that's all the tournaments. There you go. Broke it down. That was a marathon. That was a heck of a run there of looking at tournament lists. I am excited now post FAQ to see as these new events go in. I think that between that and between the FAQ, the release of Death, and the release of Nurgle, right, we're going to see a lot of different things start happening. I mean, look, you're always going to see kind of the hotness kind of float up, right? Because more people come in, right? If more people show up with Zinch, you're going to get Zinches in the top sort of, if it's also pretty good. But it's hard to tell the total spread. Again, we never get enough statistical evidence to really make real judgments. I think somebody once, Paul Cunard or somebody once ran a little bit of a calculation and said he thinks that there's about 100,000 times more, like legitimately 100,000 times more competitive Magic games played than Warhammer games. And that's probably true. Just based on time, number of players, ease of play, all that kind of stuff. So like, and even they sometimes have trouble truly aggregating like rock solid statistical data. They get there. But there's just that law of large numbers. So I think you're right, Tom. It's about knowing it, knowing how your matchups are going to be, what you might see, and push your list. Try some different things. There's a lot of fun stuff out there to explore that I don't think people have fully looked at yet and fully really gotten good with. Like we mentioned the dispossessed player who pulled like 7th, and everybody in the chat said, yeah, that person plays dispossessed forever. Yet knowing your army is probably one of the best things you can do, right?
Yep.
So there you go. All right, gentlemen. I'm looking forward to stuff. There's a lot of exciting things happening. This is going to be a big year for AOS for sure. Ryan, any final thoughts as we close out on everything?
If a fly is born without wings, is it a walk?
It's deep, man. It's deep. I like it. I'm going to say it's probably a crawl. That's my vote. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you.
All right.
Answered the question.
I mean, you could probably have a fly without wings. It doesn't necessarily die. I mean, it'll die soon because it can't.
Yeah, it can't get away. So like the frogs are going to eat it or whatever.
Sure. But, it's not dead immediately. It doesn't die from wing loss.
Hey. In this competitive world, if you don't have the edge, you're done. You're dead to me.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to see if we could actually talk about anything on your show, and thank you for the answer.
Yeah, the answer is yes. All right, so Ryan, appreciate it, man. We're gonna have you back again for sure. If you're not already subbed up to AUSHammer, what are you doing with your life? I'll link their channel and associated stuff in their site down below. They're making all sorts of good content all over the place. Come on, stop making a mistake. Go sub up. That's what you should be doing with your life. So thank you, sir. Look forward to having you back.
Not a problem at all, mate. Thanks for having me, boys.
Absolutely. Thank you for making time in the middle of the day for us. I know I know this is a bit of not the most convenient time, but thank you. It is real appreciated.
Anything to get out of work.
For all of you who are watching, thank you very much. I'm sorry about the quality of the stream at the beginning. Like I said, we never experienced it, so I don't know if it was YouTube or something like that. I hope that doesn't happen on the upload. I hope you're watching this later and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was all fine. Such is the fun of live YouTube TV. But we'll make sure, hopefully, to be back to not normal streaming next week. And we thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.